Hello everyone, welcome to the Inner Work 101 Playshop. I'm really excited to host this for you today and I can't wait to empower you to get into this topic because it is an amazing thing for us to empower ourselves in. And I honour you for coming because this is a subject that a lot of people kind of, I'm not really sure about. So welcome. Today we are going to do a brief meditation to take us to the exact spot to go, yes, this is why I want to do this, or even look into it. And then we're going to go through a little activity. We are then going to go and talk about what is inner work, dark work, emotional intelligence, emotional embodiment, all these terms that get thrown around. And my aim is to shine as much light as we can on this topic. It doesn't have to be so dark and bring in the fear because, of course, we always know as soon as we put fear onto something, it doesn't go as well and it is not something that we need to actually do. We can always take our light in there as well. So without further ado, let's get into a meditation. I'm just going to stop my video just to allow you to come into yourself and I will come back at the end of the meditation. Okay, so I invite you now just to settle into your chair or lie down, close your eyes and start to have a breath in and exhale the big sigh. And another one, breath in, another big sigh out. And keep going with that for as long as you would like to, and just settling into a comfortable breathing pattern, allowing your body to fully relax. Now, while you're doing that, I invite you to start to peel off anything that you are thinking about, worrying about, bringing to the table right now that is to do with anyone else, so your children, your partner, friends, family, work colleagues, and to start dumping it all into a big basket beside you. Everything that you've been thinking about, everything else that doesn't matter right now, put it all into the basket beside you. You can put it into helium balloons and allow it to float upwards and away. You can allow it to melt off you like a candle. You can hand it over to angels. That's whatever you need to do just to come back to you. So we've got just you here right now. And today we're going to go on a journey into a forest. And I invite you now, we're going to walk in barefoot. It's a beautiful temperature and it's a forest that you can imagine. And I want you now to envisage what it feels like to have your bare feet on the ground as you walk through this forest, along this path into the forest. What does it feel like under your feet? And at the same time, you might start to hear what it feels like under your feet. Cracks, snapping, or soft padding as you walk along. You can also hear what's going on around you in this forest. There might be other creatures there, wind, trees talking to you. And you keep walking further and further into this forest. You can smell the fresh smell. You know that you're back now connecting with nature. And now you look around and you see even more around this forest, what it looks like, how it's inviting you in further and further into this forest. And as you get further in, you start to realize that you don't feel anyone else around you. And the further you walk in, the further you walk away from anyone else. It's only your energy connecting with nature right now. And as you keep going, you start to look around you, look upwards and see what you can see, and you realize that everything's looking quite shimmery. You can see the sun shining on the leaves and the trees. There might even be some water droplets that the sun is shining onto. And you start to realize that you're looking into an illusion right now. And you remember that actually your life is an illusion you are creating. What is going on inside, what you're thinking, feeling, believing, expecting is actually playing out in front of you into this illusion. And you remember that you've come here for yourself and your own journey. And then you start to see other people coming through from the shimmeriness. And these people have been key actors in your life that you've been creating. They might be people that you've known from ages ago, people that are in your life right now. You can see them all there. People that have been there for big events in your life, and people that have come up against the tricky times, they've been tricky for you. And you remember now that they've all been here for your soul's growth. They've all been here to allow you to experience something. And you take a moment of gratitude, and you remember that by the end of your life, the curtain will come up and you'll be able to see that these people are actually just the souls that agreed, like you did, to come in here and play these roles out in your life. You can have a laugh and a joke with them, tell them what a great role in acting that they played. And you realize now that when you change what you're thinking and feeling and believing and expecting inside, these actors will also change accordingly. And you remember the power of yourself to create whatever you want to see on the external world. So you wave goodbye to all these actors in your life, and you turn around now and you start to walk back out of the forest, having a sense of wonder and curiosity about what might come now with this remembrance. And you breathe in some love. You breathe out empowerment. You breathe in more love into your chest, and you breathe out empowerment. You feel a strong sense in your heart and your power center and your solar plexus that things can be different and that you can start things anew. So now as you walk out of the forest, you start to come back into your body. You start to wiggle your fingers, move your hips around, your shoulders, your neck, your feet. And as you come back into your body now and open your eyes, I invite you, if you have some paper, to write down who are those key actors in your life, particularly the ones that have played the tricky parts against you. I'll give you a few moments to write anything down. Okay, I'm back on. So obviously take as long as you need to, pause this if you need to keep going. It's a great exercise just to start to see, oh yeah, who's been in my life? Who has had one of those interesting roles in my life where they've been responding to how I've played myself out? And I want you to consider that, yes, when we bring the light to this, we can actually go, oh, at any point I could lift that curtain and go, oh my gosh, you are doing such a great role in playing this actor for me, to start to see what do I need to change? What can I change in myself to make things go better? Where am I seeing these actors in fear and they're acting in fear back to me? So my examples are, for example, the deputy principal that myself and my child has had some interesting run-ins with. And so that deputy principal, sometimes I would rock up to a school meeting and quite a lot of fear about what was going to be said and, what would happen with this person. And in the end, I started to realize, you know what, I could bring some light and some humor to this and start to imagine the curtains going off. Like, you are playing an excellent role in being so difficult, but you're actually making me have to stand in my power, having to really own what I'm saying seriously and stop fluffing around about what is very important. And handing my power over to someone else. So she's played an excellent role for me to have more soul growth. And by doing that, we're actually empowering ourselves rather than pointing the finger that someone's a problem in our life. So that's a big key of this, is empowering ourselves. I've also got my husband. He does an excellent job at playing out the role of, make sure when you come to me about anything you want to change, do put money towards it. You better be damn sure of yourself before you come to me, or else I get the no, and shut down back. So it's made me go, yeah, I have to actually go within myself. Am I sure about this? Do I really want this? Because otherwise I get the doubt coming back straight back at me if I'm not fully behind what I'm asking and saying myself. And of course, our children are a huge one in this. I'm sure you can think of many examples when your children have played out things that has made you just go, oh my gosh, I have to change or do something within myself. And I'm sure many mothers are coming, to the Awakened Parenting the New Children Facebook group that you can come and join if you're not. But it's also around, oh yeah, something's going on. Even the health world is not helping me to fix my child. What's going on? Oh wow, is this something to do with me energetically? And that can be to do with a soul contract of like, what have we come into to realize and play out? And so sometimes our children are playing these things out, saying, come on, remember, wake up, you've got to do this. And so that was my son when he had such bad skin issues. It was so bad. I had to keep looking for an answer, let alone behavior and sleep and all of that on top of it. I said, you played a really good role in making sure that I didn't just sweep that under the carpet and go, oh, whatever, I'll pull little, so-and-so. I actually really had to go and do something. So when we see these people with, oh, wow, they're actually here in my life for a reason, and I'm attracting this for a reason, oh, okay, it's something I need to learn. Then we go, right, I can look at this in a different stance. And quantum science is showing this, that, proving all of this that we've just gone through, is that whatever the energy is that we're putting out, that's all we're attracting back. Be like law of attraction. So when we can start to go, oh, okay, I can play this game now. I know what I need to do to change it. Then we can change, everything we can imagine possible for ourselves in our life. And I can say, I've had some incredible turnarounds with the people in my life to realize when I've changed myself, then they've changed too. And I could write a book on it, and you might have already seen posts about that, with my children, but also with my husband as well. So that's a really exciting thought, that you can make changes to you can't change people in your life because they've got their own free will and they're their own, they're acting out their own illusion. But you can desire for yourself, what do I want this relationship to be like for me? So that's the day when I realized, what, I actually want to have a more empowered relationship with my husband. I want us to be, on the same page in a lot of different ways. Of course, then I get to choose, how that would be. And so then I can hold that vision for that. Of course, I can have a choice of, what I envision for my children. And so, especially with mother-children connections, it's such a big, strong link there that whatever we're envisioning can really come true for our children, as long as we keep that focus strong. As long as we focus so hard ahead on what we want that we don't see the actors in our external world giving us that doubt. So, if our child, we're, envisaging our child going along and amazing behavior and whatnot, and then they go and have a massive tantrum in the supermarket, we can really look down at that and whoops, we've dropped down to, oh, I'm responding to what's going on in my external world, and that gives me that doubt. And so then the doubt's playing out in my mind, which is playing out the movie in front of me, and that's what we get more of. I hope that makes sense. So the more that you can stay focused on, yes, okay, great, he's having a tantrum, but I'm not going to hugely respond to that because I don't want that to creep into my, movie reel inside my head, then we can start to realize, oh yeah, I'm focusing further ahead than that, and that's just going on, but I'm going to keep focusing. I'm going to hold the faith and the trust and the love in my heart that actually we're going to get there. And that's how powerful we are. As mothers for our children, but also as partners, wives and partners for our partner, is that when we hold that space and that trust that, no, I know you've got this because actually it's my reality that I want, it can come true. And we attract it to us. And the universe will work out certain ways for that to happen. We don't even need to actually do much, particularly going out there and trying to figure it out ourselves. That's not what we're here for. So that's a little bit. It's the game of life that we're playing, and let's have a look at this as far as it is a game of life. To understand these rules, what have we come in here for? Oh, okay, the biggest thing that I need to learn is that if whatever's going on inside for me, that's what I'm projecting out. Okay, instead of going out there and trying to change everyone and worrying about everything, that's just creating more of the same. I need to actually then change what's going on in here so then I can get my movie going in a much better way. And so in saying that, it's actually not so much about, doing this for our children, it's doing it for ourselves. We've come here for ourselves, our own soul growth. And then obviously if we're doing this and focusing so hard on empowering ourselves, then everything else goes magically around us too. So our children, fare well, our partners fare well, everything, fares well around us, our life circumstances all fare well. So it seems a bit backwards to what we have been brought up to believe. But this is the new way, and this is the way that we can create so much change magically, which is exciting. And I know so many people being drawn to this because this is the time to awaken and realize, oh, wow, I can make so many changes myself. I don't have to give my power to a healer, to a professional, to a teacher, anyone who's giving me advice. Actually, I can take a lot of that back. And when I take that power back, then I can see very clearly who I need for help and who I actually don't even need to listen, because they're the external actors playing on my doubts and my fears. So if I've got doubt and fear and I go to a doctor, they'll give me more doubt and fear back. So I hope all that makes sense. So I've written a couple of notes so I don't get off track and I stay on track, because I could talk all day about this subject. So the first thing is, okay, so what is inner work? And so inner work is pretty much what I've just explained, is us doing the inner work. But then we go, how do we change this? What do we do? It's quite a nebulous topic because we've never studied it at school or anything. So we get then onto dark work. There's dark work. And then what I'm saying is, under inner work is changing our belief system. So obviously you can see what I've just been talking about. Oh yeah, we've got some beliefs to change so that we can change what our movie reel is projecting on the outside. So let's go to the fun stuff, the dark work first. Now this is a interesting thing that I found when I first heard, the day I had a big awakening, that we have a shadow side. It was like I was a bit curious about it, a little bit excited, a little bit like, oh my gosh, I've got a shadow side. Like, is that a skeleton there? I feel like I saw, oh my gosh, like, is there a part of me I really don't know? Like, it's actually hidden in the closet. Oh my gosh, like, what have I forgotten? What don't I know? I was like, oh my gosh, have I murdered someone? Have I done anything crazy that I really don't know? And that same day, I also found out about past lives. So I was like, okay, right, I don't even know. But to me, it's a bit like if we bring the light and we consider, okay, like I'm walking into a haunted house. For some of us, we go in there like with a bit of excitement, a bit of like, oh, will I get scared? But we all also know that ultimately we're going to be okay, and we're going to come out the other side having had fun because of having gone through there. We don't go in there thinking, oh, this is going to be a nasty experience, like jumping off a cliff, because we wouldn't. So there's something drawing us in there, even though at the same time we can go, oh, it's a bit, dark and scary. So that's the most dark and scary talk we want to bring to our dark work, is that the more we put that story on, it's going to be terrible, it's going to be so hard, I don't have the time for it and all of that, then it becomes that way. So I'm excited that many of you are saying, oh, I'm curious about it. So let's go in there. Let's talk about, our dark sides. And really, ultimately, we are yin and yang, dark and light. So you can't have light without the dark, right? So most of us have been brought up to think, oh no, I'll just look at the light. I'll just look for all the good stuff, because our parents have shut us down for, you don't be sad, don't be angry. No, none of that stuff. I don't like it when you're like that. And so we've been brought up basically to push our shadow side away. And, basically that's our true self, part of our true self being pushed away when, someone said, oh no, that's no good. That gets shoved into the shadows as well. So many of our gifts are hiding in the shadows because of, like one look, one comment, one sense of even someone's feelings about something that we thought was amazing. Or even for me, it was like, one night when I woke up and saw a being and I was shut down straight away and it wouldn't be. And so, of course, it got shoved away. So that's the shadows that we're tucking away into there. So with the dark work, it's one of those things that once we start to go, okay, what's there? We've got knowledge, we bring the light, we can start to feel okay about it. Now, what's happened is that when we were born, or even before we were conceived, we were light of love, beautiful being of love. Then we came into this incarnated body, and of course we sensed fear straight away, probably even from, once we were conceived, we were sensing any stress from our mum physically. And so, of course, once we were born, more and more stress came along. And of course, as I was just saying, we were shut down for all of that. So, it might have been the shame of, a parent saying that you're not doing that right. And we didn't know how to express that feeling because our parents didn't want to know that, oh, I feel terrible, that like I'm feeling so bad that I can't do what you're telling me. Zoom, we shoved that down. It might have been, having a big tantrum about being disappointed one time when we were tiny, and parents like, no, none of that. Zoom, we shoved it down, and we learned very quickly, well, you don't bring that stuff up ever again. But we are humans and we have feelings. So those emotions are going to come at any point, throughout our whole life. Every day things are coming at us and we're feeling emotions, and a lot of the time we're not even realizing, every day we're tucking an emotion down here because it's not safe or cool to express it, in front of people at the time, let alone when we're busy and we don't even have time later to go and express it. So that's one part. The dark energy then that we've shoved down all of this time is that our ego self, which is our fake self, our fearful self, has basically kept a lid on all this stuff inside us. It's still sitting there within the cells in our body, in our energetic body. And it's keeping a lid on there because it's keeping us safe from feeling it all. Because if it opened the lid like a bin, it'd blow our minds if we felt all those huge emotions all at once. So hence the ego is keeping us safe, but the ego is keeping us separate from our higher self, our self of love and truth, and the one that's trying to show us our highest potential and what we came here for. So that's the whole thing, is that we've come into this human body and we've had all our emotions shoved down, so we've lost track of our higher self, some of us more than others because of the life circumstances that we've led. And so then we've got this ego self covering it all up. And so then the ego self basically will justify, make excuses, rationalizations, ifs, buts, all that, to avoid us going and seeing any of those emotions. And so that's when we can get triggered by someone, when someone kind of pokes the button that the lid opens and we're like, oh my gosh, that's poked on, like, for example, it might be, someone brought up a comment about, a cesarean birth, and I went, and got triggered. And that's the ego self, oh my gosh, no, tuck that back down, because we didn't feel our feelings of whether it was resentment at medical staff for having gone through that, taking our power away, anger, rage, just sadness, whatever those emotions are. And of course, that can be from any point going backwards. Obviously through our childhood we got shut down for the different events in our life, teenage, becoming an adult, but a lot of mums hold a lot of stuff since our children have come through, from trying to conceive to having that birth to having the first while, when all the different challenges our children have brought us. We've had emotions about that going all the time. So many different emotions. I could sit here for the next hour talking about, do you would have felt this then, and you would have felt this then. But we've kind of, like for me, when I had a preemie birth, I put on a brave face because I felt like I needed to, and I didn't even know at the time to express it. I didn't feel like I had the safe place to do it. And so it's taken me years to realize afterwards, wow, I actually feel quite angry that I didn't get to have my baby with me. I didn't even get asked, and all these things that come back to you when you get honest and allow all this stuff to come up. So in saying that, you get control. It is as simple as that. You can control this lid as much as you want. So if you want to go, okay, yeah, I'm open to this, but I'm not really sure, of course, you just take it slow, and you can say to the universe, that's enough right now. I'm really busy. That's enough. For me, ever since that day I had the awakening, I didn't even know why. I just had an open yes. And so anything that needs to come does come. But in saying that, the interesting thing is, even if you don't really say yes, the universe is going to do some of your work for you, which we all know. We have those tough times when crap goes on and, our emotions come out. We get forced to go there. And that's because the universe's energy is ever expanding. So it's ever basically pulling the weeds out of us if we don't do it ourselves. And so that's, to do with the stars, the moon phases, what's going on in the sun, all sorts of energetic things in the energetic climate that we don't always hear about. They are working us as well. So sometimes you don't even have to do much. You can just go along with things. The full moon comes, you go, gosh, I'm feeling so irritated right now with my children. But when we turn that back in and go, what's that irritation about? And we sit with it and we get to that point, okay, it's about this. I'm going to let that go now. And it might go on for a little while, and you're busy one day and the next thing, but after, say, the 3 or 4 days of the full moon period, all of a sudden you go, oh, I've woken up and feeling so good. And that's the realization that none of this lasts forever. As soon as we are present with the emotion that we've shoved down, that feeling, that memory of, oh, so sad that my parents shut down my gifts, and I really go there and I have a good cry, boom, gone. It's gone. It doesn't come back. It's not going to come and creep back into us. So that's the cool thing. And we know then nothing of this, even if it's, quite a dark smog that I feel like I've got on me from whatever happened, ages ago, it won't last. As soon as you go there and really quickly be present with it, it goes. Because emotions are energy in motion. So they should be coming and flowing through us like a river, like when we have listen to a joke and we have a laugh, we've laughed it, the energy's gone. But if someone says something and pokes our button and I feel it, but I don't let it go, that's energy that's staying stagnant there. And stagnant is like a pond. And the pond with the water that doesn't move grows bugs. So, it gets real festy and green and all sorts of things. And that's basically where the lower vibrations are. As soon as the vibrations are low and dull, that's where bugs get attracted to. So depending on where we hold it in our body, that's where the bugs can get attracted to. And then we attract the physical disease. So for starters, most of us are attracting physical disease because we're full up with emotion that we've literally gone numb. We can't feel all the stuff that's going on inside us energetically. I can't feel it. And so we can't feel it, all of a sudden we don't even realize, oh, I've got all this tension sitting here in my throat. Next thing I've got, like a sore throat. Or next thing I've got a headache. Oh, I didn't even know that I was carrying tension, around my head. Or the sinusitis, I didn't realize I was pulling in my cheekbones, my hips, and it goes on and on to, bigger and worse things. So that is when we start to realize, I kind of either got to feel the pain of going there with I'm releasing my emotions, or I get to feel the pain of having the physical disease at some point in our life. And honestly, the physical disease is the worst pain, because this one is actually a pain that you get to go like this and you can be empowered from it to go, yes, I'm getting rid of this stuff. I'm saying goodbye. And the universe, this is the amazing thing, gives you gifts on the other side every time you have a good release. So when you might be able to remember, like when you were back when you were little and you have a good cry and you'd be like, oh, okay, you feel nice and peaceful and calm. And so when you're peaceful and calm and you've let go of something that's been circling inside you and distracting you, all of a sudden you go, oh, I've got clarity. Oh, I should be doing this. And so sometimes when we get to those final straw moments and we have it all out, and then we're like, oh, I kind of knew that answer was there all the time, but I don't know, I didn't see it. And that's the ego self trying to keep us small so we don't go there. And it's basically distracting us from doing anything to get to our higher self. So I hope that all makes sense. So we really, really, really want to keep doing our work to let go of our darkness. And by doing that, we are releasing the patterning, the energetic. It's almost like a rubber band that's on with our children, maybe with our partner and other people. But our children are here, shining mirrors. Whenever you're saying certain words like, oh, no one's listening to me right now. Why weren't you just listening to me? Why won't you just listen to me? Your children are basically, ignoring you and whatnot to say, you need to look at yourself. And that's when you go, oh, yeah, no one ever listened to me when I was younger. I had too much to say, or, I was too annoying, whatever it was. And that's when we go, oh, okay. And when I go back to that and release it, all of a sudden I've opened up my heart, and my children then actually connect better and they're listening. It is magic and it's amazing and it's true. And it's science. So I just want to make it really clear, the gifts of doing your dark work is that once you do that, you get the clarity and the calm and the peace, which means you go, oh, wow, I can be present. I don't have to worry so much. I've got intuition coming in. All of a sudden, instead of having this distraction of all these emotions and worries and thoughts going on in my head, which is the ego self going nuts, trying to distract us from, actually looking at this stuff. Then we go, oh, okay, yeah, I know what to do now. We get motivation, we get energy, because all of a sudden we're with our higher self that gives us the path to glory. And then we also uncrack our hearts. So the whole time we've been tucking tough times away, we've basically been shielding and shielding our hearts. So when we crack our heart open, all of a sudden we can see things from others' points of view. So instead of doing the pointing the finger, oh, I can't believe they did that. Oh, they're so mean to me. I can't believe it. Rah, rah. Oh, look at them. The judgment, the gossip, and the blame. All of a sudden, we can start to see what's going on inside of others. And we're like, oh, okay, yeah, I feel really terrible. I can feel like the deputy principal's sadness and her not good enoughness. I can feel it. Okay, I can have some understanding for that. And so now I don't have to react as much to whatever she's doing and saying. It doesn't have the charge on it that it used to. And particularly for our children, when we can see things from their point of view, instead of the stories of, oh, there's so much trouble, oh, they won't go to sleep, oh, the behaviors, oh my gosh, this physical health stuff, I don't know what to do. We can just go, oh, wow, it must be so hard for you, right? And we can connect with our hearts. And as I was saying earlier, that heart connection helps us then to hold them in a net of safety, and they can actually do a lot in changing themselves just when they feel that safety and that someone's believing and trusting in them. But when we don't have that heart connection and we're like, oh, they're out on their own, and that's why they're not changing like we want them to, because they're out there on their own. Even when we say, oh, I love them and everything, they're out there on their own. So I'm covering lots. So I want you to see, though, as coming back to the light again, is that the dark work that we're doing is actually light work in disguise. So as you can see now, you go, oh, okay, I do my dark work. Oh, wow, look at all these gifts that are coming in for me. This is the way forward. This is the only way forward to create my better life, to help my children, to get along better with my partner, to, everything. It's the only way forward. And so then we start to go, okay, this is going to go on for the rest of my life. And once we accept that, we go, okay, I just need to start to look at this. And what I always say is that we should be clearing our emotions as much as we would clear the snot out our nose, wheeze, poos, even taking the time, if we have the gastro, even taking the time to deal with our period, we take that time because we have to. And you would not be feeling good if you're holding any of that in. And this is the same, it's just energy. And so once we get past the memories are gone now, they're not here. It's just the energy that we're holding on to. It needs to go. We go, oh, okay, I'm going to do this because A, my physical health, B, all the other reasons. But C, it just doesn't even make sense. It would be like if you were brought up to be told, I never want to see your snot. So you had to keep hocking it up. And imagine if science had never worked out that ear infections are related to that. This is where we're getting to with science now, is that you hold in all your emotions. You are weakening your cells, literally, by not expressing the negative energy. So that's basically dark work in a very little nutshell. And then we start to get on to, I'm just making sure. Oh, and one last thing is that what I want you to understand is that there are a lot of light workers out there who are, I'm looking at the light, I'm seeing all the amazing stuff, and they're up here in these realms. But if they haven't been doing their dark work and they're trying to be grateful for everything and not actually looking at the darkness, then it's like they're trying to reach for the light, but actually they've got these big weights holding them down. They can only reach so high because they've got these weights holding them down. And so that's something to consider, is that you can only perceive as much light as you perceive the darkness. So again, another reason we need to go there if we're going to truly ascend and do amazing things. Okay, so that's dark work. Now our belief systems. This, I did speak a fair bit at the start as to what's going on inside us is projecting on the outside. Literally, if we get into like what quantum science, illusion kind of thing, what? But that's how it is. You are having effect on everything around you by what you're thinking and believing. And of course, as we've been brought up, we've had all sorts of interesting beliefs put on us that this is our work now, is especially now we're all becoming more conscious and awakened, is to start to cut snips with all the things that don't serve us and are not aligned with love, because they all need to go, and there's a lot of it. I'm just having a look. So basically, some examples is that if I trust, the biggest example for me, which I went one day, is that, say with a fussy eater, I believed that my children were going to eat healthy. I don't know why, but I just did. I knew that they were going to. And so when I did that, I was holding that heart space for them at the dinner table. And even though we'd have our ups and downs, we'd go along and, you know, some nights were worse than others in trying to help them along. But I held the love there that, oh, that's okay, you know, whatever, as opposed to the fear and, oh, no, that's not it. You've got to go away now. And nope, you get no dessert, all that stuff. Again, that cuts the connection from our heart with them. Then you start to realize, oh, wow, it doesn't matter how many strategies you are doing. If you don't believe your child's honestly going to eat like a green veggie or whatever you're putting in front of them, they literally won't, because you are creating that story going on and on. No, they won't. See, look, they won't. See, look, they won't. And basically self-sabotaging what you're doing. So, you know, some mums would come to me and say, oh, I tried it and they didn't do it. I'm like, oh, no, you go in there and you say, hey, this is good for you. And you hold that energy that you expect it to work. And then it does. They go, okay. So that's just one example. Obviously, what we expect and have thoughts of for our partners, the same thing. So if I expect that, yes, my partner is going to say, yes, we need to go out and go to a naturopath because our child really needs it. If I'm really strong in that, like, yeah, we need to, then they respond like, okay, we'll go then, in whatever way they do it, you know, however your partner responds, but they will say yes because we're talking to their soul and they go, yeah, okay, I've got you, you mean it. So when we've got that energy there, but when we don't, oh, you know, I've heard of this person and they said that we should probably go to the naturopath. I think it would be a good idea. They go, oh, no, not another person. And you can see it's actually my energy that I'm giving off, they respond to. They are helping us to create our own reality. They are the key actors in our life. So in saying that, that's the other part of the inner work. And of course, that's like, well, you know, dark work, changing my beliefs. Where do I all start with that? And this is why, you know, in my New Children Healing Sanctuary, we do about 2/3 of the program or the adventure is focused on doing this, because it takes a lot of going inwards and changing what I've been thinking and what I've been doing and what I've been believing all my life to change that. And of course it's possible. So in the sanctuary, I give many different resources and different strategies and practical tools to be able to do this. For now, I want you to consider that even just by saying yes to the universe, I do want to do this, and sitting back, you will start to see something come at you. And then you've got the choice to either, oh yeah, I feel really sad. Oh, that's right, I called this in, I better go and release it. Or you can still choose, because you've got free will at any point, to tuck it under the rug again. So that's the simple way forward, is just saying yes and going with the flow and remembering what you've asked for and obeying the universe. The more you go, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, the universe goes, excellent, we'll give you something else now. And as, what do you say? I've kind of been like, oh, here we go again, you know, more coming at you. But it's the only way forward, because as I was saying before, the more dark you perceive, the more light you perceive. And the amazing stuff that's happened by me just going in there and getting rid of stuff, changing my beliefs, it's been incredible. There's no way I would have done it any other way, because I would have been back with a child, probably diagnosed with a disability, probably on medications, probably having tough times with the school, working him out, and him, you know, bringing the chaos that was splitting the family as far as my husband and I couldn't agree. Sibling felt left out. He was getting hurt and all that. That was the reality. And instead I went, no, I don't want that. I don't want a child, you know, like this. I want it like this. And without realizing, the universe started to get the cogs turning. So I really consider, I urge you to write down, what would you like right now? What would you like your life to look like? And then you realize, for things to change, you do have to do that dark work to get through, even in the tiniest little ways. That is the main part. And of course, you can pull at the ball of string in a couple of different ways. You can start with, oh, what's going on right now, or what's gone on since your children have been born, and start to go, oh yeah, my actual true feelings about that. Or you might start to go back and do like a timeline of your life and start to go, oh yeah, where are the big events? And the main part is, so many mums are just getting over the hurdle of, oh, like what? I'm going to cry, and what? I've got to show my family. Oh, no, I don't have time for that. Or, oh, I feel a bit uncomfortable. Or the ego self will just distract them. It'll give them really good reasons. Don't do it. No, you don't have time for that. And that's when we start to realize, oh yeah, the ego self can wind us back into staying small. So I urge you to go big, dream big, go and get those emotions out. We're emotional beings. We should be and crying and all of that in an appropriate way. And so finally, I'm just going to define, as I said I would, emotional intelligence. That's the term that's kind of thrown out there in the mainstream world. And to me, that is basically just being able to recognize your feelings and release them appropriately. And the silly thing is, we were never taught that. We are certainly not perfect at that, especially at the start. So we cannot expect our children to behave well when we don't have emotional intelligence sorted for ourselves. So you must start there in starting to realize, yes, okay, I need to be modeling this for my children and talking about my feelings, showing them what I do to let it out, because monkey see, monkey do. Our children have learned everything by watching us. It's not like we expect them to show up with a skill all one day that they've never seen before. Never. You can sit there and think about that. So you really do need to be the model and go out there and smash it. And then emotional embodiment. That's basically the next notion of, okay, so I'm going to find the emotion that's going on in my body for me, and then I'm going to release it, and then I am much more grounded in myself because my soul can come back into my body. So when we've been younger and we've gotten stressed, or even just yesterday, for me, it can even be just being in a hospital and seeing a needle, and my soul, it dissociates from my body straight away. You get that faint feeling, you're out of your body, you're certainly not feeling grounded. And, probably much of our life, we've been this way. For many of us sensitive ones, we've just shot out of our body, don't want to be there. And so that's when we start to go, oh, I'm numb, I don't really feel my body that much, I don't feel emotions in my body. Or we start to go, oh yeah, I'm, packing weight on certain places just to cover that up, I'm not really sure about that. That is us not feeling safe to come into our body. So, and you don't blame it either. So that's when, once we start to release all these emotions, then all of a sudden you go, oh yeah, I feel okay being in my body now. I'm at one with my physical vessel. It is so important. It is connecting me here with this physical world, and it is the greatest tool in starting to, once we clear the backlog of our emotions and we start to become unnumb, we start to go, oh, I feel like this energetic tension around my throat, like something's not so great. I'm going to go and release it. Next thing, you never get sick because you're releasing it before it manifests into a physical disease, because you can feel it. So lots of different topics thrown out there. I know this is huge. It is 101. And obviously some of you might walk away and just go, yeah, I've got this now. That's great. You've planted that seed. Some of you might go, I'm going to sit with this, and that's cool too. I'm going to be talking about this topic a lot more. But if you would like, and you go, yeah, I think my time is now, I'm ready to do this. New Children Healing Sanctuary. My mother-child healing approach is what we do in the sanctuary. And we basically guide you through this with a group of like-minded women, so we can support each other and support our higher selves without the judgment and all of that ego talk that happens in so many women's groups, like mothers groups and whatnot. Oh, that's just normal behavior. Oh yeah, I know, it's so hard, isn't it? They're so annoying when they won't sleep. All of that ego talk is making you go smaller and smaller, as opposed to, hey, you've got this, I know you can do it. Empowering talk empowers more women, and especially when every other actor in our life is giving us fear and negativity. In-laws, family, friends, partners, it's so wonderful to have a solid group of women to push you forward and say, no, this is your path. Remember that. This is the truth. This is love. You can do this. We've got you. You are on the right track. Go and get this, for your children, for yourself. Go and, mean this for your partner. So that's what's happening in the New Children Healing Sanctuary. I'm doing, rounds ongoing, but there is one starting this week. If you're just watching this right now, it's starting on the 25th of June. But also you can visit my website, newchildrenhealingsanctuary.com, and pop your name on the waiting list for the next round if you are at that point as well. I would love to have you. I can't wait to get a bigger and bigger and bigger community of mums and parents. The dads are involved in this too. Really going out there, empowering themselves to create their own reality, because the new children are going to be like, yes, they're finally doing it. This is what we've been asking. And then they can thrive. They don't have to have the behavioural issues and the physical health issues just to show you, hey, you've got to do your own work. Let's just get in there and do it anyway. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you feel like there is light in this topic. There is. And please do come into the Facebook group Awaken Parenting the New Children if you would like. We are here to support you, and it is a wonderful community as well. Bye.